guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price. Well, this has been a long time coming. The rumors started, like 5 or 6 years ago? Then they went through one screenwriter, then another screenwriter, then a director, then another director, then a Pennywise, then another Pennywise. Now, we finally have what by all rights, following those little rules of Hollywood, should be a total mess. Is it? It is the new adaptation of Stephen King's book, and what a lot of people are calling a remake, even though it's technically not. As I've said in earlier videos, to call this film a remake is not only to imply that the book never existed, but also that the miniseries is not only the source material, but a theatrical film. Since none of those things are true, this is not a remake, this is just another adaptation of the novel, and a damn good one at that. The plot, of course, revolves around the 7 children and the group known as the Losers Club. And they're in junior high, and they're in the 1980s, not the 1950s where the book takes place. One of the masterstrokes of this movie, I'm just going to say, was the decision to move it from the 50s to the 80s. Obviously, this is done for a few reasons. Most importantly, I'm sure, so that when part 2 comes out and they're the adults going back to face it, they're doing so in our time period, in the modern world. I think that's a really neat idea. But anyway, the losers exist. They have their encounters with Pennywise, and they band together to try to defeat the evil, while also dealing with just being junior high kids on summer break who are generally kind of looked down on and bullied. And I mean, it's this typical King thing, because with Stephen King, it's never just about, here's the monster. If the story revolves around children, it's never just, here's the monster. It's, here's the children, and here's their life struggle in addition. And what King always does so brilliantly is blending those two elements together, so you have a really full story that's rich in character development as well as rich in horror. It's one of the things that I love about the book, and it is one of the many things that this movie gets absolutely right. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the movie, but I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. So if you were hoping that I was going to let you in on all the different forms that it takes in the film and all the I'll say this, there's no universal monsters. There's no werewolf, there's no mummy, there's no... and I'm okay telling you that because, you know, the director and the producer, everyone behind the scenes kind of made that clear in various interviews in the last couple of years. They're not doing a lot of the forms from the book. There are parts of the book that make it into this movie. Some of the forms that it takes are from the book. Some of them are completely new and original. They are all really creepy. I really love how they do the various forms, and I will say this, if you're looking forward to a whole lot of Pennywise, just know they kind of treat Pennywise in this like Suicide Squad treated the Joker. He's all over the advertisements, but he's only in, 10 or 15 minutes of the movie. He kind of shows up, does his thing, and disappears. Now, a lot of people might have a problem with that. I personally didn't, because in the book, that's exactly what Pennywise is. He scares the kids with something, and then he kind of briefly shows up just to kind of give them the finger, so to speak, to mock them, to let them know that he knows what's scaring them. Pennywise in this film is played by Bill Skarsgård, and if you're wanting to compare him and Tim Curry from the miniseries, I'm going to tell you right now that it's kind of a futile thing. The way the character is written and the way that Bill plays him in this is more or less polar opposite of the way that Tim Curry performed as the character back in 1990. The thing is that Tim Curry, and maybe this was because it was a made-for-TV thing, maybe it was because they were just banking on Tim Curry to get people to watch, I don't know, but the thing is that Tim Curry really hammed it up. And while I like him for that film, for the miniseries, while I like his portrayal and how it fits into that crap never would have flown in this movie. Bill Skarsgård gives a very different take on the character. One thing that struck me right away is that he's not a joker. He's not a clown. He looks like a clown, but he acts like an animal. This is a very feral creature. He wants to hunt. He wants to prey. He wants to eat. That's what it wants. And he plays that note so perfectly that what you get from this performance that you wouldn't get from Tim Curry's performance is the true evil behind the character and the true kind of the way that it sees the world as inferior. These kids, these people, they're its food. He's not toying with them with jokes and lame puns and, kind of the Tim Curry, kind of crap. That's not in this movie. If you're looking for that, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do for you. Skarsgård gives an incredible performance here, but I don't want to make this review just about him either. The kids are all fantastic. My favorites were Finn Wolfhard as Richie Tozier and Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, but there really isn't a weak link among them. The film is very stylized too. I know that a common complaint that I imagine people are probably going to have is that it kind of jumps from one scare to another to another to another for a good deal of the film, at least a good deal of the first half of the film. I could kind of see that as a legitimate complaint if this wasn't based on something. The fact is that, this movie is trying to pack 500 pages of a book into a film that's a little over 2 hours long. So of course, there's going to be some stuff lost in translation. If you're one of those diehards who's going to be all pissy about every little thing of the book not being in the movie, honestly, I don't know what you want, and I don't know what you expect this movie to be. I will say that there are things from the book that I wanted to be in the movie and that weren't, but it didn't in any real way make me think negatively about it. I think that this was a much better adaptation of the source material than the miniseries was. I think the miniseries is entertaining. Like I said in my review of the 1990 It, I think it's entertaining, but it's also kind of like Diet It. It doesn't catch the brutality. It doesn't catch the animosity and the real horror of what's going on. This movie does. I will say that there were times in this movie I laughed so hard that my sides were hurting. There were times in this movie that I thought I was going to cry because of how great the emotions work between these child actors. And there were times that I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, knowing that something completely freakish was about to jump out at me, but I wasn't so much afraid of the jump as a lot of people are when they go into horror movies. I was afraid of what was going to jump. And I think that's an important thing that a lot of studios overlook. When they make horror movies, they think it doesn't matter what's jumping out. It's the loud noise. It's the scare. People will jump even if it's, like in Blair Witch, someone going, "Hey, man," and grabbing the cameraman. I hate that crap. In It, I can safely say the jumps match the tension. The jumps match the intensity of what's going on. This is a masterful horror film, and I really hope that everyone can go out and see it while it's in the theaters and get the full brunt of its effect. It gets 4 stars. This is a classic. This is a modern classic. I was so hyped. I can't wait to see this movie again. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait for part 2, even though we're all going to have to. I read earlier today that part 2 is going to be announced at some point supposed to be released some point in 2019. Ugh. But hey, let them take their time. They took their time with this, and they got it right. Let them take their time with part 2. I got all the time to wait, and apparently Pennywise has 27 years to wait. So that's my review of it. Keep watching my channel because I got a lot more reviews coming. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B Movies.